When most people are told by the head of one of the world's largest companies that they should get out of the industry, they would sneak away, tail between their legs. But Ratan Tata is definitely not like most people, and in a moment of humiliation that would have shattered an average person's confidence, Ratan Tata found the motivation to succeed. Not just that, he even managed to prove what he's capable of in one of the best revenge plots the automotive world has ever seen. We have carefully sectioned the video for your convenience. We would recommend watching the video from the beginning to understand the context and for the optimal viewing experience. But feel free to skip ahead to the section marked The Humiliation in the timestamps if you're short on time and just want to satisfy your curiosity. We totally get it. Let's get started. Ratan Tata's Revenge. Ratan Tata was born in Bombay, now Mumbai, India, in 1937. But his journey is not a tale of impoverished beginnings. Ratan's great-grandfather was none other than Jamsetji Tata, commonly known as the father of Indian industry. And though his critics may argue over how real a Tata Ratan is, since his father was adopted into the close-knit clan through marriage ties, there is no denying he carried the family's business gene. After completing a degree at Cornell and the advanced management program at Harvard, Ratan settled into the family business. And oh, what a family business it was! Jamsetji Tata established what would become the Tata Group in 1868 at the age of 29. After visiting England to learn about the textile business, Jamsetji acquired a bankrupt oil mill in Bombay, which he renamed Alexandra Mill and converted to a cotton mill. 2 years later, he sold the now profitable mill to a local cotton merchant and returned to England for further study of the Lancashire cotton trade. Jamsetji firmly believed that India could beat their colonizers in the textile game with the right approach. The prevailing belief at the time was that Bombay was the only choice to establish such an empire, but Jamsetji had other ideas. He knew his chances of success could be maximized by focusing on proximity to growing areas, access to rail travel, and plenty of fuel and water. The rural Nagpur at the heart of Maharashtra's cotton country checked all the boxes. Thus, Empress Mills was born. An innovator in more than just industry, Jamsetji also introduced practices in the workplace to improve the lives of his employees, which were pretty much unheard of at the time. Empress Mills boasted the first humidifiers and fire sprinklers in India, and in 1886 he introduced a pension fund. Shortly after, he began to pay accident compensation. Workers at Empress Mills worked fewer hours than other Indians and enjoyed benefits like childcare, retirement savings, and gratuities. But success in the textile industry was just one of Jamsetji's dreams. The innovative entrepreneur was passionate about philanthropy too. In 1892, he established the J.N. Tata Endowment, which enabled Indian students, regardless of caste or creed, to pursue higher education studies outside of the country. The first beneficiaries of Tata's endowment were 2 women doctors, hand-selected by Jamsetji to address the high rate of childbirth-related deaths and reluctance of Indian women to go to male doctors. Jamsetji had 4 other important goals on his bucket list: building a steel plant that could provide the backbone for an entire town designed for the benefit of its workers, establishing India's first hydroelectric plant, opening a higher education institution to cater to all promising scientific scholars, and opening a magnificent hotel that would compete with the most luxurious properties in the world. This last dream was the only one Jamsetji would see come to fruition in his lifetime, with the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel opening its doors in 1903. The Taj was the first building in Bombay to feature electricity and also boasted the city's first ice maker, soda maker, lift, generator, mechanized laundry, polishing machine, and more. Now, more than 100 years later, the Taj has spun off an entire chain of hotels, the Indian Hotels Company Limited, which features over 100 luxury, business, and resort hotels around the globe. Jamsetji left a legacy behind him as he passed away in 1904, and his son, Sir Dorab Tata, picked up the torch of the family business, determined to bring his father's remaining dreams to life. In 1907, Tata Steel opened in the remote village of Sakchi. Just as his father envisioned, Dorab established a hospital for medical care, built wide streets lined with shady trees, protected areas for parks and recreation, and maintained space for religious buildings. The city came to be called Jamshedpur and remains to this day the cleanest city in India. In addition to stellar living conditions, Tata Steel offered its workers an unheard of 8-hour workday, free medical care, maternity benefits, retirement plans, and family benefits. Dorab and his brother oversaw the creation of hydropower units near Bombay, which grew into 3 hydroelectric entities. Even Jamsetji's dream of a science institution came true with the help of the government of India and the Mysore Maharaja, who offered nearly 400 acres of land free of cost. The first students enrolled at the Indian Institute of Science in 1911, and today over 2,000 active researchers call it home. By the time Ratan began work for the Tata Group, it had expanded to include Tata Steel, Tata Power, Tata Chemical, Tata Motors, and nearly a dozen other enterprises. Tata stepped down as chairman of Tata Sons in 1991, and Ratan was named his successor. Ratan ushered in a new era for the Tata Group, instituting a retirement age to move the stiff traditionalists along in favor of innovation-minded young talent. He restructured the group to allow profits to build the brand as a whole, and brought the dozens of companies under the Tata umbrella together so they could all synergize with one another and make a truly global impact. And as relevant to this story, he aimed to achieve globalization through Tata Motors. The Humiliation. Tata Motors was founded in 1945 as a locomotive manufacturer and didn't enter the commercial vehicle sector until nearly a decade later, when they formed a joint venture with German automobile company Daimler-Benz. The move allowed Tata to dominate the commercial vehicle market in India for decades. But Ratan knew the path forward was through passenger vehicles. Tata Motors launched the Sierra, a sport utility vehicle, in 1991, followed by a station wagon, the Estate, in 1992, a 5-door SUV called the Sumo in 1994, and the extra spacious Safari in 1998. But it was the Tata Indica that was Ratan's real pet project. The Indica was a super mini hatchback with a diesel engine that aimed to bring an ultra-affordable option to the market. Plus, the Indica was one of India's first passenger vehicles to be entirely indigenously developed. Following the announcement of the Indica on December 30th, 1998, Tata Motors received over 100,000 orders for the new vehicle, which promised more car per car. Despite the excitement around what Ratan felt was a landmark moment for Indian vehicle manufacturing, the Indica failed to perform as well as initial interest suggested. Sales lagged, and Ratan was forced to consider the possibility that selling the failing car production unit may be the best way forward. In an attempt to save his vision, Ratan and his team flew to Detroit in 1999 to meet with Bill Ford, then chairman of Ford Automotive. But the chairman of the largest conglomerate in India was met not with respect and consideration. Bill Ford told Ratan that Tata should never have entered the manufacturing business. Among those present at the meeting was Praveen Kadle, who later recalled Ford telling them, "You do not know anything. Why did you start the passenger car division at all?" Ford went on to tell Ratan that any purchase was a favor to Tata. Ratan and the rest of the Tata Motors team left, humiliated, with no deal being reached. No one knows what went through Ratan's mind on the flight home to Mumbai, but by the time he landed, Ratan had announced he no longer planned to sell. Instead, he doubled down on his belief in the Indica, launching a second vehicle version that addressed significant complaints with the 98 version. As a result, the Indica became a mass favorite in the Indian market and was soon successfully exported in large numbers to South Africa, then European markets. The success of the Indica in the global market allowed Tata Motors to acquire Daewoo's South Korea-based truck manufacturing unit, and in 2004, Ratan rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange to mark the listing of Tata Motors. Ratan continued to wield success in his automobile business, acquiring a controlling stake in Spanish bus and coach manufacturer Hispano Carrocera in 2005, and forming a joint venture with Brazil-based Marco Polo. Tata Motors, once laughed out of a meeting at Ford, was now manufacturing and selling cars, trucks, buses, and coaches in the global automotive market. But Ratan proved the best revenge is a life well lived, when in 2008 he met with Bill Ford again. 9 years after their first encounter, the tables had turned considerably. Tata Motors was experiencing massive growth while Ford was a dying company on the brink of collapse. The Great Recession hit US automakers especially hard, and luxury vehicle sales ground to a halt. Ratan Tata offered to help by buying 2 iconic brands of the Ford portfolio, Jaguar and LandRover. In June of that year, Tata purchased the brands for $2.3 billion. Ford had bought them for nearly double that amount a decade prior. Ford also had to shell out $600 million to make up for shortfalls in pension plans. Remember how Bill Ford told Ratan Tata he would be doing him a favor by taking Tata's vehicle manufacturing group off his hands in 1999? In 2008, he told Ratan, You are doing us a big favor by buying JLR. Ratan Tata is a man known for his kindness and philanthropy, but one could guess that hearing those words kicked off a mental victory lap for Tata. But Tata's sweet revenge was just beginning, because Jaguar Land Rover would, under his leadership, become one of the most profitable automobile subsidiaries in the world. Now, that acquisition remains the backbone of Tata Motors' finances and is credited for allowing the company to become a significant world player in the automotive industry. During the 21 years that Ratan led the Tata Group, revenues grew over 40 times and profit over 50 times. He turned Tata from an Indian conglomerate into a global business leader. Unfortunately, nothing lasts forever, and Tata resigned his executive powers in the Tata Group in 2012 at age 75. Present day and future vision. The company Tata Sons remains focused on philanthropy, with 60% owned by trusts, which provide education, health, culture, and livelihood opportunities across India. The Tata Group saw $128 billion in revenues over the past year and employs nearly 1 million people worldwide. Tata boasts a brand value of $24 billion across the sectors of auto, technology, finance, food and beverage, retail, and more. The Tata family is revered, respected, and celebrated across India and beyond. What began as one man's determination to create a sustainable business while focusing on human rights has grown into a global powerhouse. 85-year-old Ratan Tata remains extremely active in investing and philanthropy, recently awarded the Assam Vaibhav, the highest civilian award of Assam, a state in India, for his exceptional contribution towards furthering cancer care. He's also the recipient of the second and third highest civilian honors awarded by the government in India, and was named an Honorary Knight, Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire by late Queen Elizabeth II. He holds dozens of other awards, honorary degrees, and recognitions. But can any achievement prove as satisfying as a man who laughed you out of a meeting, coming back to ask you to do him a favor? We hope you enjoyed the tale of Ratan Tata and perhaps even drew some inspiration from it. We're looking forward to seeing you come back here next time. Bye for now.